nelotu apa ilashumbai oji Tempol inosakini iyiok nelotu amanaa tenakop nitaai dii apa ninye neeta apa irbaribarani oishuara neeta apa ntokitin naatunoki naijo nekijo apa iyiok imbenderani embitira neuni apa nepik apa endamarti apik enewueji oosi nepik pardama tidie wueji ewueji neji oloonkariak nepik apa ntokitin naijo naagira apa aimaanisha ajo ore kenya enakop toolarin ooponu naa keetai ntokitin irekiei oobaikini Kenya naa ore naaji pee eyieuni nitobiri enakop nitai apake tenakata ele ashumbai enebaiki tenakata conservancy nikiata naji pardamat nibung'i apa idia kop ore apa ele ashumbai nelo ninye apa eewuo airorie iltung'anak nelotu apa ang'as aitai ena game reserve nitai apa nejoki apa iltung'anak maitai enakop pee erripieki ng'uesi naa ketii apake iltung'anak sidain amu ore apa oltanki oji Ole Ntutu naa ninche apa ilaiguanak lina rishata ninche apa oomanaa nitai lelo polosien inosakini sininche iyiok nitaini Maasai Mara game reserve nibung'i apa ajo naa sinanu nibung'i inakop niteruni ake aanyorr ing'uesi amu iteruaki ake aatum faida oong'uesi ore pee etumi faida oong'uesi nenyiku ajo naa sinanu piilotu alo ayiolou ore pee iteru ilashumba ninche aayiolou enakop neponu ilashumba nibung' inakop ore iltung'anak apa ootamanya inakop tanakata letalek niteru aibung' esiai oolashumba neeku kilakua apake iyiok enakop amu enakop apa kimanya nikinteru ake aanyorr ilashumba ata mikiyiolo nikinyorru ng'uesi ore ng'uesi neng'asi apa alotu entoki naji siasa neeri munyi ore munyi apa tenakop naa keparana kibung' ake munyi ore kunda donyio naa mparnati enye kulo donyio naa nkoitoi apa omunyi kuna neeri apa ajo naa sinanu lelo tung'anak munyi emirr imowuarak nemirr iloitikoshi ilonito nemirr ilowuarak neponunui ore taa inakata piiteru ena paak aasisho oleng peponu iltung'anak lormaasai aajing neponunui amit enarata oong'uesi neeku kesujuni kerripi enakop oleng keponunui ake aamanaa tenakop ore peeri eng'ues nibung'i iltung'anak nistaari nikoni nejia.
Neither the elders nor Temple could fully know it then, but the decisions being made on that riverbank would help shape what the world now knows as the Maasai Mara Game Reserve. A landscape once understood through memory and seasons was shifting. Rules were tightening. But as modern conservation took root on this land, so did new questions. Questions about grazing, about ownership. Because when a line on a map becomes a law, it demands an enforcer. And to a herder looking for grass in a drought, an invincible line makes no sense. Mzee Kereto remembers exactly when those new questions turned into physical warfare.
Marake beita hasi nikibolu yoga apu ekidari yandako nikibukono atale enda yalo olaroro ama apedio loiborsoi neaponuni to shaukeri yo tinako ariyo kaunti kanso neriyo ka jukiwija pa kiponu anya na nizo nakelang atale.
Imagine the shock in the pastures. Before modern group ranches like Koyaki, Lemek, or Olkinyi were ever carved out, all this was one continuous and divided landscape. No lines, no legal subdivisions. But after the mapping was finished, the dry season arrived. The young herders drove their cattle to their traditional fallback lands, to Talek, to Olare Orok, to Oiborsoit, but suddenly the county council and government rangers appeared. They started fighting the herders. Beating them. And denying them the grass.
Ijama do de yoraba lo baba be shoyo nurbolo silenke melle pa yo do be to giniari yo urbolo silenke manizo galandale.
The youth began to panic and ask hard questions. How could our parents have given this land away when it belongs to the people and we are used to grazing there? Wasn't it the river that was marking the boundary? Why are they fighting us? We haven't crossed the boundary into Talek. At that time, Mzee Kereto was a young man, probably the exact same age as we, the youth of Jasiri projects, are right now. The old ancestors who had stood at the riverbank with temple had already passed away. The weight of this crisis fell squarely on the next generation of leadership, on Tutu and on a man named Nampaso.
Neta ole Nampaso orbungei nikipuo ajoki ama doi kanyoo doi peer iyiok iltung'anak le kaunti netu kilak orkeju le.
Look closely at the tragedy of this moment. During those times, none of our elders knew how to speak English, and none of them spoke Kiswahili. Was a simple language barrier the reason why we had all this devastating miscommunication? Nampaso was approached because he was one of the very few who had interacted with Temple, and he was the only one who could understand some bit of Kiswahili. In a rapidly changing bureaucratic Kenya, that bit of Swahili made him the only bridge chosen to handle serious community decisions. He saw his people being denied their rights, and he gave radical instructions. We are leaving the Mara. We are going all the way to the Ministry of Wildlife in Nairobi.
Nikidumunye nikipuo abaiki ele ministai loong'uesi. Naa ore ele ministai loong'uesi amu oljaluoi keji apa Ogutu. Ogutu. Ore pee nikibaiki taa nejoki ore kulo Maasai naa kajo nanu egira artam. Ore kulo Maasai larikito naa orkiyioi etii. Naa keetae apa ewueji apa neishooki olashumpai orpolosie naa taleleka apa. Neeku keetae neomonu apa orpolosie lenkima ojo paa tenedolu enkima amu iyiolo naa peyie epejisho irmaasai amu kepejito isho duo naarri irmaasai amu memanya duo naarri enakop. Neeku kepeji enakop peeponu inkerrai atum impejot. Naikonji taake aing'or esuntai etii duo maapa esuntai enaa ena. Nejo dolta tele polosie onyokie ninyototo aut enkalamu nejo nelen nelo aikunari inji. Kajo naa sinanu naa peelo ayiolou omeshomo neimidie ilo polosie apa eji olenkima. Naa tiakata apa nanu sirkali ntasheki ele polosie miwuatu aikata amu mokure naa apa olormaasai. Nerikito ole Nampaso orbungei sininye oji ole Konchela apa lolorukoti sininye Nyangusi. Asi ole naa kepita ele Nyangusi oleng apa ajo naa ole Konchela nejoki ira Nampaso kanyoo doi ilotu emaa doi ilotu dii ariku iyiok olayioni lememurata erikoki iyiok keni. Ejo kening olayioni lememurata iyiok. Inyoo peekipuo netii Kenyatta peekipuo metabaiki enetii Kenyatta amu Kenyatta naa apa inakata leton itu itore enkop.
Oldarasa naarri.
Ilo darasa apa ojo Kenyatta. Nekinyototo airojiroj aipot enkaji. Nikipuku nikiponu aapuo Narok. Nikiponu Narok amu Nairobi naade kishomo.
The herders arrived in the big city, standing inside the office of a government official named Ogutu. Nampaso explained the truth, that the river was a firebreak agreed upon by the elders to protect the park while keeping the community's traditional grass burning alive. A vital practice that kept the pasture so clean so livestock could thrive. But Ogutu simply walked to the wall and pointed to a map. He showed them a single red line. He told them his instructions were clear. Protect what was inside the red boundary. The land was no longer theirs. It belonged to the government. Another leader, Konchela, went to follow up and warned Nampaso that an outsider could never understand their problem because he didn't understand where they came from. By that he meant Ogutu. They even wondered why they couldn't just go straight to President Kenyatta. But the door was shut. They returned to Narok completely disappointed and broken.
Ore ake peekiponu neoshoki ninye kajo ketii irmaasai sininche ake oning'ito naake enikijoito neliki ele ministai. Neoshoki ninye orministai neoshoki kajo naa sinanu naa peelo ayiolou neoshoki dii orkitok le Nakuru ajo naa sinanu naa peelo ayiolou elo ojo PC PC le Nakuru ejoki eetuo iltung'anak le Narok eetuo aamur aajo olayiok lememurata akaitasheki orpolosie apala atiakaki ntasheki iwuatuata asi newoshoki ninye PC polisi le Narok nejoki kakwa tung'anak kulo ooetuo aamur orministai loong'uesi neng'oruaki lelo tung'anak nekejoki yiok le Napaso oyianyita ndapashata ninyoita esika nkang'itie amu esitai intae irmoruo oltung'ani.
The trap snapped shut. Ogutu reported them up the chain of command, claiming these Maasai herders had insulted him just by demanding their rights. The district commissioner in Narok ordered a manhunt, confirming with Nampaso, who went to insult the minister. Those people must be found. Nampaso told his people to stand up, live, and hide in their homes before they were found and beaten. For 3 long years, Mzee Kereto and his fellow herders lived as fugitives. No one was ready for war. And for those 3 long years, grazing was completely restricted. The map had won.
Asi, ikibonu yetoki aisho karibu larin okuni anoong'uan. Asi, ore taa pee eiko nejia, nikitoni nitoki likae ministai ajing' kuna naibadilishie iltung'anak nitoki ajing' metaa ninye taata orkitok loong'uesi nikintoki aaku enetii ole Napaso kitanya taa kisidanu kitejo amaa doi kikonyari dii enkop ang' naa orpolosie apa lenkima nikipuo ore ake pee kipuo nelo taa ainosaki enaa enapa natolikio likae ajoki orpolosie doi lenkima esujita kulo payiani amu itu orpolosie lenkima doi apa eoshi shiria ajo ore embaye enewueji naa orpolosie lenkima ima pee kinjooitie apa talek metaa ninye orik iyiok orpolosie apa kinjooitie metaa ninye orik iyiok asi neinosaki taa neishaki nejoki taa naa enchom alotu naa ng'oru entumo kiponu aanya neoshoki ole Napaso nejoki kayieu ore ntarikini naaje naa kayieu nanya enkiguana tololaimutia nanya tetalek nanya toloololo taa tenikidumunye tendoyio erinka nedumunye tiaitong' naa kewarie kiponu aim ene inakata kajo saisie kidumunye toonkang'itie nikiponu ore iyie abaiki saa 12 ekiim ene omootiani ore imita aaku kenya talek.
Our people completely refused to accept a future behind a fence. When a new minister for wildlife was elected, they tracked down Nampaso again, refusing to stay still and watch their land disappear. So this new minister was kind enough to listen to their concerns, and he promised them a real solution. Not in a city office, but right there on the ground in places like Talek or Ololaimutia. By the time the meeting day arrived, people had started settling in places like Aitong and Donyoirinka and Rekero. The population was finally enough for a quorum. The community woke up early, grabbed their traditional weapons, their rungus, for defense against wild animal attacks along the paths. At exactly 6 a.m. the journey began. Mzee Kereto and his group marched through the dawn, heading straight to Talek.
Nejoki yiok le Napaso oyie madada inyoo nairi serikali metaa inyoo nairi serikali tanaa duo ing'irara ng'eni enjooki mairorie nanu kulo tung'anak amu inakata kitumutumo enogudum ajo nanu neton apa eanyiti inakata larikok nejoki taa ole Napaso ore entoki naikirie irmaasai etoosho enkaria naataja enkare enaare talek naa ore iltung'anak otii nkoilali olootii ong'ata majimoto amu kedou oshi aponu enakop tolameyu naa naara kewok ore iltung'anak otii korkori lebek naa enkipai ewok ajo metabaiki Aitong' naa enkipai ewok neeku kuna ariak arake eeta irmaasai neeku neomonu apa irmaasai lena shoto aajo ore apa ene newaita entaboloki yiok ewueji nikiokie enkare ajo nanu nejo etaa nijo ejo taa njoo naa matushukoi alo ayiolou basi nikintaituo indapa taadoi yiok aitai title epuoi kake kedung'ore endaalo ore endaalo anaa taadoi ine naajoki enemanya enkalo eserian ene kaunti ore ake peelo nelo aitai enewueji aishoru taata enapa nikijo enaokieki enkare.
When the assembly gathered, Nampaso led the meeting to keep the process moving fast, and because our people deeply respect their elders, everyone complied. This time, the government wasn't fighting. The minister sat and listened. Nampaso spoke for all Maasai, from Talek, Majimoto, and Lemek, explaining that these families traveled from immense distances just to use the water flowing along that river. He requested legal segments where livestock could drink. The minister looked at the collective unity of the people, recognized that they already held the broader Koyaki land boundary, and formally gave them designated segments where livestock could legally access the water. A historic victory won on the soil.
Niwonu apa netumi olashumbai oji Willy Robert apa eewuo olchorro oewuo ayau entutu. Ninye taadoi oltung'ani oewuo ang'as arrip ing'uesi tenakop. Keeku ore pee kiarr ilomia amu ekira apa irkijanani inakata neponunui aitanyamal iyiok neibung'i neeku nkong'u ake irrag nemikiyiolo naa apa iyiok iltomia ajo kainyoo. Ore ake pee elotu aiterunye pee eeku taa 97 nelotu oltasat Ole Nkoitoi anyikaki enakop. Ore ake peelotu anyikaki enakop nelotu ajo ore sininye enakop ang' naa ekitum olale laijio le game reserve. Neeku ekintai ele ale lang loong'uesi ata medung'o enakop.
Think about that contrast. The elders had won water segments at the negotiation table, but out on the open rangelands, a British man named Willy Robert was moving through the plains alongside Ntutu. He enforced the state's wildlife protection rules with a heavy hand, punishing herders who clashed with predators. Our people learned to scatter and stay far from home when they saw Willy Robert coming. The range was becoming a tightly policed territory, and as the old group ranches began to divide, a new kind of battle shifted directly from the pasture into the community boardrooms.
Nelotu apa Lemek inakata, nelotu ayieu nisipu Nkoyiaki aajoki ore nkampin naa ajo naa sinanu enkop ang' etii neeku iyiok oota ooya iropiyiani kumok amu iyiok oota nkampin kumok. Nelotu apa Ole Nkoitoi nees eng'eno enye ekimaniki ake iyiok peelotu ajoki iyiok etaa ekintai conservancy ata mikiata nkampin naata lashumpa lairorie ooponu aalak iyiok ajo naa sinanu ata mikiata lashumpa nikisain enkop ajo nanu kilotu alo ayiolou peyie elak iyiok ilashumpa nena ropiyiani. Nikijo apa iyiok enkatini amu ijo mikidolta ena toki amu enkampi apa ake iyiok ijo ninye ake naasisho. Nelotu apa Ole Nkoitoi nitutum iyiok nikiwosh intumoritin omaetu nejoki iyiok nikisain apa ilarin aare aiteru. Ore pee kisain ilarin aare neeku itumito ake iropiyiani inonok musho olapa eji miyiolo ajo kainyoo pee ajo naaji noong'uesi. Nikiendelea ake aikunaa nejia nikinchemaa. Ore eishunye ilarin aare nikintoki ajo ekisain ilarin 5. Nejoki iyiok enyaaki kisain ilarin 5 nikintoki kinchemaitie taake. Ore enakata eishunye ilarin 5 kietuo taa nikintoki aatum sininye naboisho amu etang'asaki apa aadung' enkop naji aitai block 1 neeku ninye natang'asa aiteru.
Ore ninye iltung'anak ooitaa mitu eya sii Koyiaki pooki kulo kulie tung'anak apa ootamanya ninche oowaita amu nkang'itie etudung'okoki nena nkang'itie ajo naa sinanu newaita apake tenaalo e Koyiaki pee kidung Koyiaki ninche lelo. Neeku nelotu taa amanaa meetu metaa kiata niking'as dii aatum ilashumpa ootang'asa aaponu likijo apa le Kaandoni. Ore apa kulo ashumpa le Kaandoni naa Olarorok emanya ninye emanya naa inakata kintaituo title nikiponu aatum inkuti ropiyiani etaa naa keeta inkuti ropiyiani naji ne guru naa te Nairobi kipuo ayau tenewueji e KWS teine kipuo ayau basi neking'as aanya nena nikinteru taa niteru irkutot aajing'ijing naa lenkipai ndaalo neponu aajing olaroro nikinchoosho taa iltung'anak irkutot lelo kutot ishori taata orkutot obo nikincho naaji ilewa 5 nikincho doi oopishana peenya eton itu kidung enkop itodua neeku nejia tooshi kinkunaa enaa omeetu taa adung enkop ore pee kidung enkop neeku baadhi oltung'ani onoto ewueji nipirare olchamba enkambi eya ninye olchamba amu olchamba lenye neya neeku nejia tooshi ikununo.
This was a blueprint for our modern landscape. The land was formerly subdivided, but half of the Talek and Koyaki areas did not have individual owners yet. Instead, the land was held as one massive collective block, the Koyaki Group Ranch. The title deed was giant, spanning the entire size of what we know as a conservancy today. If there were members registered, they all owned that big block together, keeping the pastures open and undivided. But internal unity was fracturing over capitalism. Lemek Group Ranch looked at Koyaki and demanded a bigger share of tourism revenue, arguing that they had more safari camps sitting on their soil. That is when a visionary leader named Olenkoitoi stepped into the gap. He came up with a corporate shield, bypass the ranch rivalries, and have individual landowners sign their private plots directly to tourist partners for a guaranteed lease income. Our people were still deeply suspicious of the paper trap, so they negotiated on their own terms. They didn't sign away their heritage forever. They started with a cautious 2-year trial contract. It was called wildlife money. When they saw the funds arrived safely without the land being stolen, they extended it to 5 years, opening up Block 1. As Mzee Kereto honestly recalls, money tasted good. For the time, our people weren't being beaten by the map. They were earning from it.
Nikiponu ajo naa sinanu nikisain ilarin 15 nikintashe tine nilepu taake ajo naa sinanu niteruni apik inkera ang' metaa ninche sikarini, ninche irkaranini, ninche irmanejani nikiendelea aikunaa nejia. Nikinteru atum mapato sidai oleng. Keetai sukuulini naashetita nena ampunini nisumi inkera nitayuni iropiyiani naisumieki inkera. Ijo nikiponu aishamaa apa yiok inakata nikimbung'ie ng'uesi. Nikinteru yiok amu ore apa inakata kira yiok irkijanani naa kiata olamayiolo lowuarak likipuo ake aar lowuarak pesho kitoni ake nikipush nikiyieu aar lowuarak. Ore pee kinteru aanya iropiyiani nena ng'uesi ang' nikinteru ayiolou ajo nkishu kumbe nkishu aa sininche. Nikiponu aar ina siai mekure apa etii olowuaru nemetii oltome mekure apa eeta eng'ues nikiarr. Nikiponu aishamaa ore tanakata ajo naa sinanu nikimbung' ina rishata ompaka ng'ole pee kintoki aponu atum pardamat. Ore pee kiponu atum pardamat nikijo kaji kinko pee kitum pardamat amaa enakop amu etaa ninye kemanyai nimikiarr ake ng'uesi ata kimanya enewueji.
From 2 years to 5 years to 15 years to 25-year leases we see today. That cautious negotiation is what allowed Naboisho and eventually Pardamat to take root. As Njapit notes, Pardamat was built out of profound collective question. Can we protect wildlife and the people together?
Apa, emetasheki ake elepore, nitasheki eorote, eorimuatate, neor laleta, nena duo itasheki meeta ninche wankera enche, tenitasheki ayiaraki indaiki. Egira aibelekenya metii nabo, eetuo duo ninche metaa ketii ninche kuna komitiini. Ketii doi ninche kuna komitiini taata, imaniki dii etegeluaki entomononi, neeku taata ketii atua sininye lewa. Enyitai kuna tumoritin, netaana enkomitii. Neeku, netii doi etaa doi keeta, neeta doi eripare, oshi taata kemirta ntokitin, ajo naa sinanu naake enkononko, nedol inyang'utua ntokitin, nedol inyang'utua, nedol intokitin sapuki.
Ore ore intomonok apa naa ore apa tesamani naa kelakwa oleng intomonok, kelakwa oleng. Ore keworr apa ninche ore apa ninche irpayiani lormaasai naa keworr eramatare oontomonok enaa olewa. Keyieu ninche naa keeta intomonok eramatare enye neeta ilewa eramatare enye. Neeku kegol apa piibung'i eramatare oontomonok tesamani enaa orpayiani. Neeku kegol apa intokiting nairiamakinoi amu keyieuni apa naa kepiki intomonok abori oleng. Ore apa intomonok naa peyie eramatisho ake ninche tiang', aramat inkishu, neramat inkera, neeta naarri iwueitin intokiting esamani naijo impikasin, iloiroshi naa ninche naarri esiai oleng oontomonok. Ore akeyie peeku duo nkulie ramataritin inkiguanat naapuo airiken naaji enkiguanare enkop nemenyiku apa intomonok, nemeetai apa agenda oontomonok inakata. Kake niteru dii ake siinye esiai oontomonok alotu pee tangu ore dii akeyie iteru aaku noo 97 nikinteru kiata oltasat oji Ole Toya peeku orbungei, ninye apa oiterua ayau ninye enkiguana oontomonok apik intomonok aitushul intomonok olewa. Neeku taake neng'asi apa aajo ore kainyoo ena omaetu aibung'a. Niteruni siininche aagelu aisho intomonok entoki naji ilturrurri, niteru intomonok aajing siinche inkomitiini egira aaponari ompaka tanakata. Nikipwonu apa aadol aajo meeta apa shida, iltung'anak apake laijo kironyi apa tesamani. Nitayu siinche maoni naa keeta ninye intomonok maoni sidai oleng amu ijo doi menyorr intomonok corruption pii. Ore taata ore board naa ketii ake intomonok tenaa kera kitorisiote ake. Ore tenakata kera board members tenaa kera tenakata kulo trustees tenaa kera 15 nerisi ake tenaa erisi ake intomonok olewa. Neeku mekure tenakata netaa ketii pooki wueji.
The structural place of women has shifted fundamentally since the threshold of 1997. From pure home care, looking after cattle and cleaning houses, they have stepped into active conservation decision-making. Today they sit in the boardroom with men, own property, run beadwork businesses, and put on uniforms as conservancy rangers. As Mzee Njapit explicitly honors them, women are driving this leadership because they bring unity, hold excellent ideas, and they are uncorrupted.
Kubali. Ketarate duo metabana neeku ekiara toonareta eenyi. Neeku ore duo enaikuna Enkai ake duo naewuo adamu ninche yiok olarikok amu etasiekito ilarikok aaku ng'eni. Nejo ake manoto ena siai ooropiyiani oolashumba neji maibung'a kulo tung'anak amu keret kulo iyiok toontokiting are enaa toontokiting uni. Keret iyiok amu ore tenakata teneeku kuda ropiyiani ekishetie isukuulini amu mikiata. Eme nabo, keret iyiok amu ore tenakata kuna ropiyiani nikitum nekisumie inkera ang' metaa ninye epuoyie inkera isukuulini. Eniare, ekenya sii duo irmareita metaa taata entoki ormareita. Neeku enaikash tenikimbung kulo ashumba nikintayu ena toki ajo naa sinanu kuna conservancies naayieuni peeret iyiok amu inakata kiret. Nikijo maikuna nejia? Nejo iltung'anak ilarikok ojo peeya enkop. Ore irkomitiini ninche ojo peeya enkop. Neeku taadoi olarrabal meeta enkata nemikiata olarrabal ometaa olarrabal loonareta ajo naa sinanu amaetu ake aimie meetu irkumok aaduaya neponu aasidanu. Etaa duo tening'orr eetuo iltung'anak aang'enu amu eitobira ore isukuulini itayioki. Ore ninye ena nikiruru naa lelo ashumba ootesheta ajo naa sinanu piilo ayiolou. Neeku onkumok taadoi ajo naa sinanu piilo ayiolou. Ore sii taata nedol aajo mekure eetae isumashinaritin enaa apa. Keetae dii apa esumash oleng tenakop amu meetae inkishu nemeetae endaa meturishoi apa irmaasai. Kuna olong'i nanu alotu adol ajo eetuo aturisho amu ore piilo Lemek meshomo nkorkorri nelo Lolong'a netuturishote. Meturisho apa inakop pooki naa keetae naa apa esumash oleng inakata. Ilumbu epuoi aing'orunye indaiki meetai sokonini tenakop neetuo naa ninye ometaa keetai sokonini tenakop neetai iropiyiani.
The transition was never simple. When the modern conservancy models were first proposed, our community fought internally with their spears and knives. The old memory of temples map ran so deep that people instantly suspected their own leaders of trying to steal their land away again. It took endless meetings, massive convincing, and the trusted presence of elders to calm the panic. But look at what struggle yielded. Our people became clever. They leveraged the conservancy to building schools, securing bursaries, and creating formal employment. Mzee Kereto reminds us of the stark reality of the past. Back then, hunger was plenty. Food meant piercing a cow to drink its blood because there were no market days and no money. Today, the conservancy model has brought financial access, markets, and structural shields against that ancient hunger.
Ore naa apa inakata ekuti olorere meetai dii apa olorere nemeetai doi ninye nkishu medoi nkishu apa nkishu enaa taata ekuti dii apa nkishu. Ore iltung'anak oota nkishu naa oloota nkishu ip are, oloota nkishu ip, oloota onom, oloota tomon, oloota tikitam. Neeku etaa naa kumok iltung'anak neeku naa netaa naa etubulaki nemanya enkop. Manaa dii enakop memanya apa enakop muj nepoito tanakata. Mekure dii eeta ewueji nememanya. Etaa kuna kuti kosabani ake ninche ake kidol. Neeku ninche doi ninye kinchiraki aajo enaa naaji eking'as aibung ninche kuna kosabasini peeng'ad ninye aaya iyiok enkiti needo eton kiata nkishu. Amu tenitokini aaku ketaraki metaa meeta oltung'ani lemelo olchamba lenye neesari kemiri keeku naa meeta oltung'ani enyikaki olikae kikarri neeku naa ore oltung'ani oota nkishu naa oloota nkishu tomon. Amaa paa kaji ajing naa nebanji olorere. Neeku kuna kosabasini naaji kijo pee king'uraa tenekinchiraki tenaa naaji eking'uraa paa mayiolo tenaa serikali kinchiraki kulo le serikali maibung'a naaji kuna kosabasini pee meeri. Mayieu nanu nanu torpayian kitok mayieu naaji enakop neturi amu ore peeturi nemeitoki aishu nkishu nemeishu ng'uesi meeta entoki naitoki aishu teine. Naa ore naadoi nkishu naa ninche kiata ninche kinyeita ong'uesi etaa doi ninye ng'uesi saidi. Keririkino sii doi nipungusai nkishu amu etaa kutiti ilchambai. Naa amaa doi teneeku naa keetai kosabasi naa ilchambai naijo kuna enaa tanakata ena kiti nabaiki ena kiti teyie nabaiki ene naa kajo tening'orr duo naaji naa nkishu tomon ake ebaiki paijo kuti taa naaji naa teneme kuna kosabasini naaretito iyiok. Neeku kajoki naaji ake nanu pee kitoni aarare ena nyamali netoni sii duo ninche aarare amu ena toki eetuo ainepu aadol. Ore olorere lang kemoda negol ilukuny. Neeku ina peifundishai omeetu aaduaya aadol aajo kemelok taadii ena toki iyiok oorrate. Neeku meeta sii duo ai toki najo peeng'uarrai aing'oru ai toki. Ejo ake nejia peing'uraa tenaa ketumoki kulo tung'anak aatotoni esidai netoni tenebo ong'uesi. Ore duo taata eton etii irpayiani kituak penyo nimikijo duo amu iyiolo ore taadii oshi iltung'anak ooti naa kejo doi apa irmaasai nkera adoru. Ore taadii nkera adoru naa irmurran enaa tanakata ntae nkera adoru. Neeku ore tanakata kesioki auroo naaji enkop kesioki aibelekeny enkop neesioki aing'oling'ol ometara enaduo toki. Neeku ina naaji ake enkiti amu keyieu duo naa keiriamari eton eetai iltung'anak kituak neiriamari nkera olelo tung'anak kituak pooki taadoi akeyie oltung'ani akeyie nilepua duo leme orkijanai enaa ntae niyieu duo naa ketii pee ing'uraa tenaa kemitiki einyala ena toki.
Kifaa amu ore naa oshi kitok iyiok nekinyorraa entoki naji enkisuma ajo entoki sidai. Amu ore kulo tung'anak ooji ilashumpa nisumate. Neeku enaikash naa naaji naa peetumo iltung'anak oisumate pookin amu kesioki aibung'a. Neeku kifaa pii kipikita oshiake taata enakae ake toki dukuya ajo mpaka taata netii irbarnot erikore sininche pookin napuku amu keneneng naa ketaa taata keelewa ntokitin taata amu ore naadoi kila enkata neponari eng'eno neponari technology neeku naa mpaka taata netii ake lelo tung'anak kifaa pii kigira taata ake aiunga mkono ajo etaa sininye mpaka ake netii irbarnot erikore pookin ata tenaa kutitik. Kidimayu taadii ake amu ore taata ore apa ake peekinteru kuna conservancy nemikiata ore ninye isikarini nemikiata apa noontoyie nikinoto taata neeku ore taata menyaaka aiongeza mekure duo aa committee ake egeluni ajo keiko netii nena ofisini neeku kadol etaa taadoi kidimayu ake tenakata amu etaa naa dii kiriamari ake ontomonok mekure naadoi eetae entoki naji orkasi oji ilewa ake oosita elde neeku etaa ore tenakata ake peyie aa keji ata tenaa enkigerore teneji kigeri isikarini meteleku ake kitotumi sininche naa ntoyie naaji natii tayari kake ore ake peetii naa ajo naa sinanu tenaa keji duo 4 ewaki akeyaki ilewa 2 neyai intoyie 2 neeku meteleku ake tenaa ninche tenakata nemetii tayari teneyieuni enkigerore. Ore naaji oshi entoki duo nadolta nanu kayieu naaji enakop naa mibelekenya naaji atum ai mua kayieu naaji enakop naa ore naaji ilarin 10 otii dukuya neton ake kiata kuna timi neton ake tenesha nejing inkujit naijo kuna neton naaji ore enakop neton kiata kuna ng'uesi amu kajo duo nanu ore inakata ilarin 10 naa kajo kata ore value eng'ues tenakop neilepa etaa ore enakop naa keeku naaji entoki nabo enking'asia te dunia.
The keepers of memory have left the blueprint on the soil. In the past, human and livestock population were small, but today they have doubled. Land boundaries are shrinking down to private 15-acre plots, and the carrying capacity is dropping fast. Our elders are giving us direct, urgent instructions. Hold on to the conservancy models because they protect our grass. Reject industrial agriculture on these rangelands because if we plow up the grass for crops, we destroy both our livestock and the wildlife we gain from the most. Reduce the cattle counts so our families can thrive on a sustainable climate and quality pasture. Keep our culture proud. Wear our beautiful beadwork. Sing our ancient songs. And wear our traditional shukas with pride even as the modern world advances. And to our young generation, Mzee Njapit speaks with deep urgency. Exercise patience. Stop running to social media to broadcast reckless, unhelpful things to tear down local leaders and your own land. Your qualifications are real, but opportunities take time to mature. Do not destroy what our elders bled to build. Look at how hard they worked to navigate the pasture wars, the Nairobi betrayals, and the courtroom struggles to safeguard this land. Join hands across the generations. Share your knowledge. Understand the modern systems of technology. And follow the guidance of our ancestors. Because the future of this landscape belongs to us, but only if we ensure that Mara remains unfragmented, wild, and recognized forever among the wonders of the world.
Anyorenga vansidai, ahe, anyorenga vansidai. Anyorenga vansidai, ahe, anyorenga vansidai. Anyorenga vansidai, ahe, anyorenga vansidai. Ninyera ngwarabogin, ahe, anyorenga vansidai. Ninyerumya gilrumya, ahe, anyorenga vansidai. Ninyerumya gindimi, ahe. ahe anyor rengovan sidai. Enana borelonyo, ahe anyor rengovan sidai. Ninya jeburielongok, ahe anyor rengovan sidai. Ninya buanula shumba, ahe anyor rengovan sidai. Anyor rengovan sidai, ahe anyor rengovan sidai.